Have you ever been in a tough situation and found comfort or inspiration through nurturing positive feelings? Maybe you've managed to find something to give thanks for in the midst of your struggle, or maybe you've experienced an unexpected moment of wonder or joy. Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. Hi, I'm John, the founder and facilitator of EvoFaith.com. and of the online spiritual community, the EvoFaith Tribe, which is an open and welcoming place to explore the interface between spirituality and science. You're welcome to come and join us in the tribe. Membership is free. And if you find this video helpful, I'd be very grateful if you would like it, share it with anyone else who may enjoy it, and of course, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos. Today we're wrapping up our conversation about the spiritual practice of lament. And over the last few weeks we've seen how lament begins from a place of creative complaining and then moves into a moment of conscious recollection and then goes to a place of asking for help, of cosmic collaboration, collaborating with the universe to help us through our tough times. And now today we speak about praise. That's the simple word. I like to think of it as courageous celebration. See, when we're going through grief and lament, there are often two possible roads that we may follow. The first is that we get overwhelmed by our pain and we lose sight of everything else. Our suffering begins to define us, and we either reject anything that is good or beautiful or joyful, or we feel guilty if we seek out goodness and joy. So that's the one side, is where we become defined by our pain. But another possible road that many of us take when we're struggling is to deny our pain, to try to bury it and pretend everything is fine. We try to change things by being compulsively positive and optimistic. And I don't think either of these roads can really help us through our grief. But lament offers a third way. After expressing our complaint, our grief, and remembering times when we've made it through our struggle and asking help, opening to synchronicity and to the possibilities of those wonderful coincidences that can take us through, we then turn to praise, to affirmation, to celebrating what is good. In the biblical sense, praise was always about recognizing God's presence and that our human lives are in God's hands. It was about maintaining a sense of connection with the divine and nurturing trust in God's purposes. But from an evolutionary perspective, the fourth movement of lament, this movement of courageous celebration, takes a different form. It's about not being defined by our pain and not denying our pain, but being intentional about seeing beyond our pain and grief. It's about nurturing the connection with things that bring us joy and life and hope. Perhaps the easiest way to explain what I'm talking about is to share a story. I recently watched the movie Penguin Bloom on Netflix, which tells the wonderful, moving story of an Australian mother who has a bad fall and breaks her back and ends up as a paraplegic. And at first she's severely depressed and very angry and almost checks out of her life and her family. She misses her former very active life of surfing and hiking and traveling. But one day one of her children is down at the beach and he finds an abandoned magpie chick and he brings it home. They decide it's a female and they call this chick Penguin because it's black and white. The family's name is Bloom, so this is Penguin Bloom. And they care for this magpie. They rehabilitate it. And because the mom is often at home while her husband is at work and her children are at school, she ends up spending a lot of time with Penguin. And she forms a bond with this bird. One of the first moments of joy she experiences after her accident is when the family celebrates Penguin's first discovery of how to fly. And little by little, as she nurtures this bird and cares for it and helps it to grow up, she finds joy and hope and she reconnects with her family, and she reconnects with life. And she finally decides to go for a kayaking course for paraplegic people. She becomes very good at it. She goes on to become, I think, a world champion kayaker. And out of that journey, she finds a new life, a fulfilling life. She doesn't deny her disability or her pain or her accident, but in the midst of it, she found something to give her life and purpose. She began to notice the good things in her life again. And in that way, she was able to stop being defined by her suffering. So what grief are you facing at the moment? How can the spiritual practice of lament help you journey through your grief? Can you express that grief? Can you find a way to complain creatively? Not try and pretend there's nothing wrong, and not just become negative, but to be creative about expressing your struggle and what you would hope for. Can you remember? Can you consciously recollect times when you've struggled in the past and how you've managed to get through those times? And can you use that to find hope? Can you collaborate with the cosmos, asking for help, opening to synchronicity and serendipity, and being aware of any opportunities that may arise to find some healing and restoration and goodness in the midst of your pain? And finally, can you search out some goodness to celebrate, something to enjoy that can bring you life and hope in the midst of your pain? That's what lament is. These four things: creative complaining, conscious recollecting, cosmic collaborating, and finally, courageous celebrating. It's kind of appropriate to be speaking about this in this first week of the Easter season. If we are to find our way through the little deaths of our lives toward resurrection, to restoration, lament is a road that helps us do that through these four stages that enable us to process our grief effectively and well and in healthy ways, but also open ourselves to a new sense of hope and life. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope you'll be able to make lament a healing practice in your own life. Once again, if this has been good for you, I encourage you to like the video, share it with anyone else who may need to hear these words, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.